Box speech.
Let's get into it.
Round one.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Jonathan Ross.
Good evening, sports fans and lovers of fine television entertainment everywhere. Welcome to The Best of Enemies, round one of tonight's big fight. In less than 1 hour from now, the two men you're about to meet will be trying to knock 7 bells out of one another for your viewing pleasure. I talk, of course, of the WBC super middleweight champion Nigel Benn and the WBO #1 Chris Eubank. Two champions, two British world champions, and one of them must go, ladies and gentlemen. For the winner, 2 world title belts and the chance of a crack at a third. For the loser, one word: Panto. Since Benn and Eubank first met in that famous contest back in 1990, both have remained unbeaten, and Benn has taken the WBC title. All questions will be answered. Can Benn gain revenge? Is Eubank past his peak? Can they possibly give us a fight as good as their first encounter? Well, enough preliminaries. Let's get straight to the main event. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the WBC super middleweight champion of the world, Nigel Benn, and the WBO super middleweight champion of the world, Chris Eubank. I noticed I didn't get a reaction anything like that when I... For those of you watching who didn't see that momentous first fight between these two great boxers and are wondering what all the fuss is about, take a look at this.
This is what we've seen Benn so dangerous from this position. Here it comes. He's always saying he likes to battle back, Bevel. He's got to do it here. He tried to do it with Watson, but it didn't work. Benn's legs are shaking.
That was Benn v Eubank back in 1990. Tonight, the two of you, of course, are going to meet again. Thanks for coming here this evening. Now, let me start by asking about all the hype that's surrounding this fight. Of course, it's a necessary part of the build-up, but there does seem to be a bit more going on. Now, with all that hype and with all this talking, do the two of you feel comfortable sitting this close to each other? Let me start with you, Chris.
I think you should redirect your question to the right honourable gentleman, because I think he can answer it better than I, because I'm a little cumbersome with words at times, you know.
All right, Nigel, how do you feel? Comfortable?
I feel comfortable, but I don't like the guy. I feel
Right.
comfortable.
Of course, that doesn't make me feel very comfortable, but... Well, let's talk of the grudge match. I mean, it's in the papers, it's built up. You've just kind of answered the question partly there. But is it for real? Is this bad feeling between you genuine, or is it part of all the hype that is necessary to sell a big fight like this?
I don't play along with that game. I don't dislike Nigel. I don't really know him to dislike him. As a boxer, I respect him. He's a good fighter. Basically, I see him as a business obstacle of which I must get past to enhance my standard of living, to look after my family and so on.
Nigel, to Chris, you're just a business obstacle. What is he to you?
Chris is beating me, and I respect him as a boxer. That's one thing I do. He punches hard, good boxer. But as a person, I don't like the way he conducts himself. But he's beating me, and I want to go out there and even the score.
Okay. Now, let's talk a bit about the money that's at stake here, because obviously it's a big purse involved. Nigel, I believe you're going to take away £1 million.
Like that.
About that. And that breaks down at about £27,777 per minute. Chris, you're going to be taking away somewhere in the region of £850,000, I believe, which breaks down at a mere £23,611 per minute. Now, with that kind of money at stake, do you feel grateful to each other? I mean, this couldn't happen for one without the other. Is there a feeling of kind of grudging?
Yeah,
friendship?
no, I'm grateful to be in such a position to where I can earn this type of money. It's very important to me. This is what I've been doing for 11 years, and I haven't been doing it for nothing, and I'm very happy that I'm at a pinnacle and I can be earning this type of money.
Nigel, do you looking, obviously you will be literally a millionaire after this.
At the end of the day, I do love boxing, but this gives me the opportunity of securing my kid's life. That's all.
Of course, you were beaten. The last time the two of you fight, you were beaten in that fight. Does that now make you nervous going into the ring with this man before
Not
again?
at all. He's beaten me and I want to even the score. You know, he prepared like the champion, you know, and I didn't. And I paid the price, badly.
You were, you said you were the winner. You are the champion, and you won the last fight. But after that last fight, I remember speaking to you, and you told me that no one had hurt you as badly as Nigel had. In that fight.
That is correct, yeah.
Does that give you any extra feeling of fear or
Oh, yeah. I'm petrified. Nigel is a very hard puncher. He's a very good fighter. I think he's stopped 15 opponents in the first round, 13 in the second round. This man he's no joke. This man can fight.
There's some money here, some money for you.
That was a good move.
Just a little bit of improvised comedy for you this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's move on.
Let me carry on to say, you know, he's a very dangerous opponent. No one should take him lightly.
You take him seriously?
Totally and utterly.
Okay. I'm gonna talk to both of you individually in just a second. So while Chris and Nigel prepare for our little one-on-one chat, it gives me a chance to introduce you to our studio audience here this evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, it's made up of boxing stars and experts. We have politicians, showbiz celebrities, and of course, inevitably, the usual freeloaders who always turn up whenever there's the chance. A glass of Count White and some Twiglets. We do have some great people in the house this evening. Let me just point a few to you here. We have Mr. Toney Slattery is here with us this evening. Hello, Tony. How are you, sir? We have Linda Lusardi here. Good evening, Linda. And from the world of sport, we have Mr. John Fashioner as well. Everyone who is here tonight is united by one common bond, their love of the sweet science of bruising. But now let's prepare to meet our two champions up close and personal. First in the hot seat is the WBC champion, Nigel Benn. Would you be prepared to go into that ring with him for free?
Pardon? Come here.
Whoa! Oh, yeah. I'll give him a round of applause, yeah.
Did you fight him for free?
No, I wouldn't, no. Very succinctly answered. As I can now testify personally, you are one of the sport's hardest punchers. But as we saw the last time, you caught Chris with many solid blows. You really did lay to him, and yet it wasn't hard enough.
His chin is like stone, but I know where to hit him and slow him down. I know where.
And this will be a legal punch, will it, Nigel? Let's go back to this whole thing about it being a grudge match. I know there are some people who are concerned about that. We have many boxers in the audience. Let me ask, we have Henry Cooper with us, who must be, I think, the most famous, the most popular heavyweight this champion this country's ever produced. Henry, what do you make of this argy-bargy, this kind of verbal sparring that goes on between the two guys?
Well, I think it's all part of the fight scene, particularly this day and age. I think if you go back a few years, I suppose, well, Ali was the first one to start this staring out of the opponent, but I always thought Ali did it with a tongue-in-cheek and with a twinkle in his eye. A lot of fighters seem to be doing it, they mean it. And that's the difference. It's the fun, a little bit of fun's gone out of the game, isn't it? It's all deadly serious now.
Thank you. Said to us that you actually do like the sport. You like the game, you like being in it. Chris has made no secret of the fact over the years that he doesn't like boxing. He thinks it's a means to an end. He's called it a mug's game.
You know, for someone to say something like that, I wish he'd get the hell out of the game. We don't need people like him slagging down the sport, which has cured his life. I mean, that's my God-given talent to be a fighter, and to take that away from me, I don't know what I'd do. I love the sport, and for someone like that to knock the sport, which is giving, I don't know, he wouldn't get that from a 9-to-5 job. That's for sure. You
know, there's a lot of people I know who are curious about boxers, their family life, about how they justify what they do to their family. I know we have someone in the audience with a question about Wendy Richard is with us. I think you'd like to ask Nigel something.
How does your mother feel about you boxing? You know, she must go through hell when you're in the ring, when you're actually working.
Well, when I first started boxing, I was knocking everyone out. My mum was clapping that for my boy Nigel. I fought Anthony Logan, and she actually dragged my dad up and told him to stop him from hitting your son, and she wanted to put my dad in the ring. But I said, Mum, the way you plan, you know. And so now she's been banned from coming to my fight.
Can we talk about the image that you have? Because you're very smart this evening, you're very sharply
I
dressed.
followed you.
Well, I'm very, you wear it very well. But there used to be more razzmatazz involved, especially when you got in the ring. I remember seeing you in one fight and you were wearing shorts that wouldn't have looked out of place on Liberace. You were, the Dark Destroyer was everywhere. There was Michael Jackson impersonators. Do you miss all that business?
No, not at all, because I think I wanted to be Nigel Benn, the real Nigel Benn, not this guy that's aggressive, you know, who don't smile or anything. I was just getting aggressive because Nigel got to do this, Nigel got to do that, Nigel, I want you to go here, Nigel, I want you to go to Scotland. I didn't enjoy it. Now I'm enjoying it so much because now I'm in control of my life.
Let me ask you another thing. If you don't mind me saying so, you're a good-looking man. But of course, boxing's a sport when that could change, or at least to be altered. If we have a camera, I hope you don't mind this, but can we have a look at Charlie Magbury we have in the audience, former champion? No, give me a chance. Charlie, if I'm right, that isn't the nose you were born with, is it?
Yeah, but the funny thing about him, he ain't ugly. Everyone said, like, his face, his nose is gone, but I don't know, I like that. He's got one in boxer's hardness, and I like that.
He's got a character face, so you wouldn't mind it if you wound up?
If he was most probably like Charlie, I wouldn't mind. No, he looks
Okay.
proper.
Now, there's something here I think I'd like everyone to have a look at. I'm sure you've seen it many times, but if we could show everyone in the audience this and everyone at home. Right. This is Nigel posing for recent spread in Playgirl. Now...
How can you do this to me, man?
I didn't do that to you. And I'm sure just about everyone must have a question about this, but let me go. Mr. Toney Staffy there, what would you ask Nigel?
Hello, Nigel. I was just going to ask why they didn't let you show your packet.
I think that was the question that was on some of our lips, if not everyone's. Nigel, what's the answer?
No comment.
No. Tony, would you pose in Playgirl?
Oh, they wouldn't ask me, for God's sake. I once posed for Farming Weekly.
And I think on that note, we'll return to the boxing, if that's okay with you. Let me go back to the last time you fought Chris. After that fight, you knew you'd been beaten.
Yeah.
What went through your mind?
I don't know, I just went home and cried for about 3 months. I thought to myself, where did I go wrong? I know I was gutted real bad. Real bad. And now I've waited 3 years. Now I'm ready for him. And now I will prepare for him.
You're confident?
Very.
Nigel, it's been good talking to you. I'll speak to you some more later. Nigel Benn, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Nigel. We now, of course, turn to Chris Eubank, the WBO champion. Chris, Nigel started by punching me. I hope you're not going to do the same. You're the champion. You're the WBO champion. I read one thing in the newspaper that said, as champions go, you've got to be the least popular champion that we have. It said you're an arrogant man. When you read that stuff about you, what do you think? Do you think they're being just horribly unfair, or can you see that maybe there's some reason they're writing that?
The reason is for my behaviour in the ring, the way I perform. But what I'm trying to get over to the public now is that there is a performer and there is a man, and the two are not the same. They are to be separated. When I go into the ring to perform, I behave differently. I can't help it. I call that character Hyde. I'm Jekyll, sitting here right now. And Hyde, he's arrogant and he's bold. He's lion-hearted. He stands tall. He's majestic. He behaves as though he's sublime. At least he puts that over in his posturing. But the man is a normal man who is basically just like any other.
Do you think within the boxing community you're seen as being maybe, if not arrogant, but maybe too confident in yourself? I know we have many former champions in the audience, including Mr. Barry McGuigan.
I think the bottom line about Chris is people do read him wrong, and he's a good man. And at the end of the day, the press love to hate him, but they still write about him, and he's good for our sport. And a lot of the things that he says about the game, a lot of the fighters feel it, but don't say it.
Thank you, Barry. Let me ask you about the fact that money does seem to be your main motivation. I know you've talked about the pride involved, but still financially, it seems you're in it for the finance. Let me go to one of the athletes we have in the audience here. We have Tessa Sanderson here. Tessa, can you relate to that in any way? Do you think that is maybe what's at the back of many athletes' minds?
No, I don't think so. And that's why I'd like to ask Chris, actually, because in the past, you've always talked about sort of money is the major object for you. But I know from an international athlete, the hard work and everything, and especially when I won the Olympic Games, it was fantastic. And I really do feel that every sportsman enjoy winning. And I'd just like to ask you, can you honestly tell us that from the perks and you know, the celebrity status you've had, you've not had a bit of happiness doing the sport that you're doing?
I'm very happy as a person. I don't like hurting people. I don't like... Bad things can happen. Bad things have happened. I don't like that aspect of it. Do you know that over the years, I mean, how many fighters are here? Look at their features. They are a little disfigured. I will be a little disfigured. I don't like that. I wouldn't want that for my son. I don't want that for me. It hurts. This hurts. Tessa, throwing javelins is very hard. And I've got the utmost respect for you doing that when you did. This is about taking punishment, absorbing it, and giving it back out. And that's not a nice thing.
But we do get injured as well, sometimes.
Nothing to be compared with the boxer's injuries, obviously. It's direct, and it does, with many fighters, cause a direct problem, if not during, then in most cases after the career is finished. Now,
I think we've answered the question. I think it's great. We know where you are. Thank you very much. Tessa Sanderson. Chris, you've been choosing your words carefully, but you're obviously a very serious man. We know that. I mean, you're not, let's be honest, you're not big on jokes. But we do have someone in the audience who I think is one of your favourite comedy stars, who has a question for you as well. Paul Whitehouse.
Chris, great day. Do you do a lot of good work for charity?
For anyone who... Okay, yes, I do quite a lot of work.
The answer is you don't like to talk about it, mate.
Chris, I get the feeling when I watch you before the fight, not so much during it, obviously your mind's on other things, but before the fight, you are something of a frustrated showman. The way you leap into the ring, the way you posture, the way you carry yourself. We mentioned earlier the concept of pantomime, and I wonder, let me ask some of the audience who's maybe done a bit of pantomime. Let me ask Linda Lusardi, you've been one too. Do you think Chris would make a good widow twanky?
I don't know about widow twanky. I can't see him in a dress, but I think he'd make a good king rat. But I mean, the thing with pantomime is you have to have fun on stage. I can't imagine Chris ever having fun doing anything.
You do have fun doing some things, don't you, Chris?
I certainly do. I'd have fun having a private conversation with that particular lady.
Later.
Fun later. Okay, thank you, Linda Lusardi. Okay.